And
she sucked on the banana? What?
Speaking of bananas.
Minions.
Gaiden. Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the Sonic Movie Show, the only show that reviews every single video game movie. My name is Ethan, and with me here to protect his girlfriend is Devin.
You're still good for my birthday, right?
And joining us on this fine party at the bar we always drink at, it's the love of our life, David. How's it going?
I never thought it would be like this.
And it be sometimes. Devin, David, and folks out there, we watched a movie for today's episode. Shocker. We watched the 1991 OVA, that stands for Original Video Animation. Ninja Gaiden Dragon Sword Story is how sometimes I see it translated as, otherwise just known as Ninja Gaiden. It's the only one. They didn't do any others, so it's easy to differentiate. And we're here to talk about it today. And Devin, this was your last pick in our draft for
this is the last one of our draft. I'm kind of sad it's over for now. For now.
Not
back,
that we're
I
extending
think.
it,
For now.
but it is over.
yeah. Regardless, it's over. It's
it is
sad.
over.
Yeah.
It's been a
This is
journey. It's been a journey.
We did learn a lot. And I think we learned maybe 1 or 2 thousand things for this movie. I just want to know, because you picked this one. We'll talk about like the games and all that stuff in a second, but I was just curious. You knew that you were going to be picking the very last one, the way our draft snaked around. So did you think that when you picked that one, did you think it was like, oh, are we going to go out on a high note or a low note when you decided that?
The last like 2-ish picks I had were kind of just flyer picks. I'm trying to go back to the draft. Where is that? Where did I have that? Oh, yeah, over here. Sorry, folks. I have an Excel sheet in front of me. Yeah, I mean, Bayonetta, Bloody Fate. I mean, I knew a little bit about Bayonetta, and I'm like, I like it, generally speaking. I played the first game. Five Nights at Freddy's, I actually heard it was actually not bad, and then Resident Evil is just us continuing a series. Mortal Kombat Legends continuing a series, and then Tetris I just thought it'd be interesting and looked good because it was on Apple TV. I saw a preview for it. But I mean, I should really say Bayonetta wasn't as much of a flyer pick as this one was. This one was a straight, when I made before we did our draft, I made a list of how many movies we had, and like here's the list of which I'm like drafting this in, and I just crossed off the list as I picked or you guys picked, and it was just the highest one I had graded. And for folks who haven't watched that episode or this is your first time watching it, we did like a fantasy, like Ethan said, a snake draft. We did like a fantasy style football movie draft with this, but we didn't look up anything. We didn't like all do research into any of these movies, just going off of like context if we had any. And I didn't know anything besides, I remember the Ninja Gaiden games, people liking them, and the games are very hard from what I remember reading and seeing. And I'm like, people like ninjas, maybe this will be good. But it really was just a flyer pick at the end of the game where I'm like, based off what was left, I felt like this was the strongest pick that I could do. Or at least had the better odds to being good than bad. But how all these drafts go, I always feel it's the last 5th or 6th round, just generally speaking, is typically, I feel like, really a big crapshoot. But we've had some surprises and whatnot this season, I think. So, yeah, I mean, my hope is always to get an S-tier movie every time, of course. But I mean, I just took a flyer pick. I didn't even know when this came out. I don't even remember when it came out. Honestly, I was surprised when I saw that this was 1991. I thought this movie was going to be a 2005 OVA because I feel like we've seen a lot of that era OVAs just on this show offhand.
Sure.
Like around that time, like same with Bayonetta, I think was around 2010. So just like the early 2000s, I thought this was going to be, and I was really surprised that this was old. I didn't even know Ninja Gaiden was this old, Ethan. If I'm being honest,
I was going to ask you what
back
your
this
experience
far
with the video games are. It sounds like not much, right?
None.
Just word of mouth.
None. It's just from word of mouth. Yeah, and maybe the trailer for that remake that came out recently. But that was after I even drafted the movie. So
right. Yeah. Because we drafted this like 8 or 9 months ago, maybe 10 months ago. Ooh, it's getting close onto a year, right? It's recording end of February right now. By the time this comes out, it might actually be 11 months out from that draft. David, any experience with the Ninja Gaiden video games? As a giant Xbox head, I'm expecting you to know a lot about Ninja Gaiden.
No.
Damn.
Man of many words.
Yeah, no, I'm same as Devin. I don't think I've heard of this either, really.
Really?
I don't think so. I mean, if someone said like Ninja, what is it, Gaiden or Gaiden?
Gaiden.
Or
Gaiden.
if you're in Japan,
I would be
you say
like,
Ninja
that sounds
Raiden
like
Tenden.
something I've heard of, but I don't know that it actually is.
Okay.
So yeah, no experience.
I have some experience with Ninja Gaiden, not a whole lot. The series, they started off, the first game was an arcade game in like 86, something like that. That was more like a belt scroller beat 'em up game. But then it came to the NES as a side-scrolling platforming game, which is what everyone remembers it as. It had 2 sequels on there. This OVA came out the same year as the third game, so I don't know if it came out
crazy
before or
to
after.
just how far back that is, like, to think about, because there wasn't that many game franchises at that point, right? So this is pretty old.
There weren't a lot of like sequels on the NES. Like, people look at Ninja Gaiden on the NES as the same kind of vein that there's like, oh, there were like 3 Castlevania games on there, and there were 3 Marios, and there were 6 Mega Mans. Like, people hold it in that regard. As far as like the quality, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that that's overrated. I don't think that they're nearly as good as like the best Castlevanias of that era or the best Mega Mans, but they are solid platforming action games. They're what you want from the NES. So it makes sense that like it would have been popular enough to warrant this. But then the series kind of just disappeared and then came back on the Xbox, rebooted as a Devil May Cry. I don't want to say Devil May Cry styled action game, because some people will flip about that. Much harder, much more fighting game style, like expertise needed here, of like, you need precision, exact movements, super bloody. In my opinion, because it was 2004 was Ninja Gaiden, is what they called it on the Xbox original. It was an exclusive. And then 2005 was a reissue of it called Ninja Gaiden Black. In my opinion, that's the best game on the original Xbox.
I've heard of that one.
It's awesome.
Referenced, like, at least the name. Like, that's the one only game I could tell you, like, a title for the series was like, yeah, Ninja Gaiden Black. I feel like I saw it in Game Informer, I swear, a Ninja Gaiden game at some point around that time.
Yeah, because we would have been 5th or 6th grade around when like you would have just seen people talking about it. And then 2008 was Ninja Gaiden 2 on the 360. And then those were exclusives, but then the first 2 games got them ported to PlayStation 3, and that's how I first experienced Ninja Gaiden. When my dad, I believe he just bought it. I don't think we rented at the time. I think this is the same copy. Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, well before the Zoomers claimed Sigma to mean something else. Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2.
Sigma confirmed.
Was like a reissue of Ninja Gaiden Sigma, or Ninja Gaiden 2, and then they had the first Ninja Gaiden. They are considered inferior versions, etc. The series had a couple of duds later in the 360 PS3 era. Ninja Gaiden 3 is not a good game from what I'm told, and that was kind of it.
I mean, Ninja Gaiden 3, Razor's Edge.
Well, that was the reissue of Ninja Gaiden 3.
Oh.
The Wii U version was called Razor's Edge, and then they ported that version to PS3.
Gillette Edge.
Exactly.
Gillette Edge.
And then, earlier this year at an Xbox kind of showcase, they announced a Ninja Gaiden 4, which looks awesome, and a remake of Ninja Gaiden 2, the 360 version, called Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. Which was a stealth release, so that's cool.
Get it? Because he's a ninja?
Yes, get it? It's because he's a ninja. What else? I mean, that's kind of it. There is a heavy crossover with Tecmo, which is the original company behind Ninja Gaiden, with their other franchise that they're probably more famous than Ninja Gaiden at this point. Dead or Alive, the fighting game. That is a
big
Ninja
fans
Gaiden.
over here.
That's Ninja Gaiden
Of the movie only.
The movie's great. The games are good too. But yeah, so you can play as Ryu Hayabusa.
Dynasty Warriors is part of it, I guess, according to Wikipedia.
So because Tecmo merged with another company called Koei, which made the Dynasty Warriors games in 2010. So yes, Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive characters have been in the Dynasty Warriors, or I think they just called this the whole series Warriors, because then there's Samurai Warriors and
Warriors All Stars,
Warriors
Orochi 4.
yeah. Lots of those games. They're guest characters in that. I think Ryu is a cool character. I'm not gonna lie. I think his remake costume is much better than like the kind of cloth, 80s outfit. But it's a different aesthetic, a different style. I will say just one notable thing about Ninja Gaiden for the NES. I don't think it was the first game to do this, but for a lot of people, it was first and maybe only game that they would have seen that did this on that platform. It had cutscenes. It had moments like between levels where like it would tell you story. Or like, his girlfriend Irene has been kidnapped and he's got to stop Jacchio, from summoning the evil dragon or something like that. I don't know exactly what the bad guy wanted. But like it actually had like cutscenes in it, which was not a thing for that platform. So it has that notable aspect to it.
Live action cutscenes?
That would have been awesome. Just super digitized to ancient.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Like they would have had to run in real time. They wouldn't have been in like a video format. Because of the cartridge size. That would have been interesting. And every now and then you see an NES game that actually tried to have a sampled voice in it, and they always sound awful. So that would have been extra funny if they had attempted to have speech in them. So yes, all that put aside, we watched this OVA and we're going to review it. And as always, since Devin is the one that picked it, excuse me, pause for an eternal burp.
Dramatic effect.
Devin gets to go first and explain to us if he liked it, what he liked about it, if anything. And I don't know, what did you think about the movie?
The first notable thing, I think out of all the movies we've watched, this has got to be like top 3 in terms of shortest things we've seen.
48 minutes.
48 minutes and like 42 seconds or whatever. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. And we've always said if it's good, keep it going. If it's bad, keep it short. But I don't even think this movie was necessarily like bad. I think it was overall for me, I literally just watched it even before sitting down to record, and this is very 80s. It came out in 1991, but this is very of the era, just aesthetically, and I think that's what I liked the most about it. Like the music slaps, like it's like got your 80s synth shit in it. Even has like the classic drum sound that goes all the way back to.
Well, there's
yeah, which I feel like the earliest I've heard that in like movies specifically was Friday the 13th. I know it's like sound, but and then even just aesthetically though, I really even though at parts it didn't look that well drawn in terms of like the characters themselves, but the backdrops always I felt were consistent and looked good. They always had that blue kind of tint. It was usually nighttime, so I think that's what they wanted to use. But even the light effects were very 80s, like you would see in live action movies where the lights are like that blue bright color. So I really liked the aesthetics of it. I think the story is a little silly, but it's pretty quick and just kind of gets going. And they did give some backstory for some characters. How much I care for the backstory, whatever. We can maybe talk a bit about some of the characters later.
I think this is. I don't know if this is supposed to cover any of the games.
I think
it was pretty obvious that it took place after the first game.
I was going to say, according to archive.org, it says this movie takes place after the NES trilogy.
So it must have came out after the third game then.
Yeah, and I will say I did look up too who like was part of this because some of the aspects looked very Dragon Ball, and I know Dragon Ball was the 80s there. And I'm like, maybe it's just taking from that. Obvious take from what is considered really good at the time. But actually, one of the co-directors of this did direct 82 episodes of the original Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z as well. He did 7 episodes for that. He even did one episode for Dragon Ball GT, which is more recent, if I'm not mistaken. So,
That would've been
'cause even the
2000s.
dragon in the beginning even had the ball there. And I thought that was
yeah,
cool.
It kind of looked
But I
like
know it's a
Shenron.
thing. But I know
Yeah.
it's a thing though, and
Yeah.
it's not just a Dragon Ball thing. But I liked they had some anime tropes in it, which the thing of anime tropes I do like, with in terms of like the guy stops and then the blood spills out everywhere, like, it's like a freeze frame. There's some kind of fun moments in it, some comedy in it here and there. There was one part I liked about what was it? It goes the bit about, I'm going through my notes. God, I just lost it. It was on the top of my tongue. Is that the car was too slow with the Porsche? Like they're like, I knew I should have got that Porsche, and they're like, can only go a max speed in their regular Toyota or whatever they're driving. I thought it was also interesting. I didn't expect this game to take place in New York City. I'm assuming
I think
the
they
games do.
I think they do.
Well, I was expecting it to be in Japan, and they showed
Yeah.
buildings. I thought it was Tokyo or something, and then I was like, oh no, this is in
They showed the
New York
towers.
City.
Yeah.
Well,
Twin
I mean,
Towers.
it was they still showed like city scenes before
Yeah,
they
yeah,
showed the
yeah.
towers. So, and then I realized like Irene there, her shop is like a Japanese like souvenir store, which I thought was cool.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of little things like that I liked, but in terms of the story, I thought it was a little silly. Was not expecting the animal people, but I did find them scary in a good way. When I'm like, these are freaky, and I was thinking if they ever remade this, I'm happy to be a voice actor and do some of the weird animal like screams that they were doing. It seems like really fun, like a fun day in the booth to just let it out.
You heard him, Koei.
Yeah, there's
Koei Tecmo. Get him.
yeah, but yeah, there was a lot of cool stuff, but I think the length was good. I think if it was longer, it might have been a little. You'd have to add more action and whatnot, but the action was there throughout, and that's what I was hoping for in this. And it had, like I said, the 80s aesthetic throughout. So I enjoyed it, but like I said, I think if it was longer, I don't know what more you could add to this. I mean, the plot was pretty silly but straightforward. It was like, here's the bad guy, we find the bad guy, okay, and we win, and we all go home, go to the bar. But yeah, I don't know. Compared to some other OVAs, if I can compare it to that, I like this one a lot more than some of the other ones we've watched.
Yeah.
What are other OVAs we watch? Just for I guess
even
I don't
the
even know what
season-
an OVA is.
So
Tekken, no, right?
no, Tekken
sorry,
was live
that's
action. I'll say
Fatal Fury or something.
OVA, original video animation. People might debate, does direct to streaming in this day and age count? Does a direct to DVD or direct to Blu-ray count? Because I would argue Mortal Kombat would have been one, but really what they mean is old tapes, or in our case here, a Laserdisc anime thing where it's designed. It's basically a TV special designed just for this home video release. So Super Mario Brothers, Fatal Fury would have been the only two true quote-unquote OVAs, but I mean, Bayonetta is similar, Persona 3 is similar, they're just longer because of, like, they don't have the limitations on length that
and also,
they
like,
might have had.
you gotta remember, if this was shown on TV, there might have been commercials, so this 50 minutes
Right.
would have been an hour and a half,
Some
maybe.
of the OVAs
so.
on our master lists were actually TV specials that they then put on a tape to then sell. But then some of them
Gotcha.
weren't, but they're all still kind of the same. But basically an 80s or 90s anime tape that was never a part of a series. That's just a
Gotcha.
standalone thing is what people generally call an OVA. And I'm sure, DVDs in the 2000s would have also have counted for that stuff too. So yeah, I mean, if I can go next, I will say I was surprised it was as violent as it was, and I say that as a positive. I agree with you, Devin. I liked the aesthetic of it. I like some of the lighting as well. When Irene and Sarah, who is I guess the reporter lady,
But they're friends, I guess.
yeah, they're at the cafe or whatever in the daytime. They're on the inside a diner or something like that. There's so much excessive bloom lighting coming through, and like the way that it overlays atop the kind of
It was like on
the
their hair,
cellophane
like it almost it cut
the
the
characters.
face off almost.
Yeah, like the way like they managed to make that effect go over their cell layers. Because obviously this would have been physical, things that they are lining up. This isn't a digital animation. I thought that was pretty cool. There's a lot of nice painted backgrounds. There are 2 flyover shots in New York City that they then it was a picture. I don't want to say they rotoscoped it because it was a picture that they then painted over, and then they kind of did this kind of stuff with the frame, and that's the Twin Towers. That was clearly a photo that they then painted over. I liked a lot of that stuff. I agree with you. Like, the story is just whatever. I mean, it wasn't dumb bad, if that makes sense. It was dumb fun. Might not have been dumb awesome fun. You know what I mean? Like Dead or Alive is, for instance, which is live action, but still, it was serviceable. I will say, before watching it, I did I watched it this morning. I did read a little tiny, not a synopsis, but just like a description that you might have read on the back of the physical release. And I'm like, but they're about saving a guy that cures cancer or something like that. And I just kind of skimmed it, whatever. I'm like, oh, was that in the games? Were they like, is there a guy that was curing cancer? I liked a lot of that stuff, but it wasn't. It wasn't like blowing my socks off or anything like that, but it was better than I expected. I do like this more than Fatal Fury or Mario. Certainly more than Persona 3. Not as much as Professor Layton, but I'm kind of hovering maybe just because of recency bias, a little bit above Bayonetta in terms of the animated stuff that we've watched. Just kind of thinking about that, but I don't know. I mean, there was a lot of tropey stuff, like you said, Devin. There is the, like, I can't let you get involved, and like, oh, but
he
I
even
gotta...
And then she walks away, and he like looks up to the sky, and like, classic. He just I had to let her go.
This took place after the 3rd game. I mean, you kill a lot of jabronis in those games, so I don't know. I liked the 3 detective types of people. I thought they were enough. They worked well enough. And I think the villain was whatever. I
liked the evil, like, in the very beginning of when they show the face talking to you about, like, he's like the evil demon god or whatever. I like that look. But yeah, in terms of just like, I'm an anime villain, and it's just, they're fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. And from this era, especially based on the material that it's based off of, especially that there are stories that I guess were already done. Those games are. I assume that this might have been an adaptation on the 2nd game, for instance. But to hear that this took place after, I mean, I wonder how much they decided. Do we need to do too much of this, or should we just kind of, I don't know, wait and see for maybe a future game? But I digress. I'm going on too long here. David, what did you think about Ninja Gaiden? Classic David gonna be like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen, or is David gonna surprise us and be like, this is the best thing I've ever seen?
I don't think so. I mean, on this channel, I'm a known non-anime lover. I think it's just a lot of times they're not for me, so I think with my opinion, the audience will have to take a grain of salt. This was just boring to me. I watched it probably 3 hours before this, and I was falling asleep during it. Legitimately was putting me to sleep while I was sitting on the couch watching it, and I think it was just the story was not good enough to like keep me entertained, and instead of being bored and looking at my phone, my brain was trying to shut itself off. I mean, a lot of the things were just fine. I think a lot of the characters were just like, okay. I did like Ryu himself. I thought he seemed like a cool character. I think they didn't do him justice in the sense that, like, I think he could have been really cool if the story was better. But I think they also did the fight scenes well. I also, am always a fan of those pauses, and then the guy splits in half or whatever. That kind of the fighting trope of like, oh, it happened so fast that you didn't even see his body sliced in half.
That's how I would like to go out, by the way.
Same. I agree. That's like,
or like, I don't know if I won or not, but then by the time I'm dead,
it's to black.
Yeah. It's over really quick. Yeah.
Yeah. yeah, I mean, again, you guys said the villain. I mean, it was just like, I don't know. Maybe I think a lot of things in this movie could have just been done a lot better. One of the saving graces for me, like Devin said, was the length, like 50 minutes or a little bit less. It did end like when I was starting to think about like, oh, I hope there is not another arc to this. And like when credits rolled after the first, like that ending point, that clear ending, I was like, thank God. 'Cause I was not excited for another 20 minutes, 30 minutes of this.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it kind of is what it is. I think I just don't like a lot of like the tropes and stuff that anime lovers love. It's just like so cringy to me sometimes. I don't know. It's just like you must be put out of danger, and then like immediately she just gets captured. It's like, okay, well,
that was silly. That was silly,
yeah,
for sure.
It's like, okay,
What are you gonna do? Why are you following us up to the roof?
like he was already going, yeah, but it's like why did she need to even be captured? Like he was already going after this guy. He didn't need more motivation. He's already fighting crime. He's already going after him. Why?
You gotta save the girl, dude. This is classic era of,
right?
Like, I gotta save,
which is fine.
Girlfriend.
It's just like, yeah, and that
David
part
just
is not
doesn't find
cringe.
that part
It's
realistic because he would never, try to save.
Yeah.
a damsel in
I'm
distress.
like, get out of here, and then she gets captured. I'm like, later, I got a job to do. Yeah, I mean, I think that sums it up for me. This movie was just fine. I don't think nothing screamed like actively like super bad like some of the other animes, in my opinion, we have watched. So it was not like hard to watch. It was just boring for me. And I think that kind of sums it up in my mind.
Interesting. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Here's the thing. As I'm sitting here,
Sorry
like,
to
what do I
drop my anime
like,
bomb
what
on
do
you.
What do I segue into? And I'm like, there's not much in this. I feel like we've already kind of talked the majority of it.
Well,
so if you have
I
any
was gonna
points
say,
you want to bring up, Devin.
Well, I was just gonna say, kind of talking a bit by the characters, how you mentioned the kind of the three sidekicks. I guess it was a detective journalism kind of group, and it took me a bit to like understand what these characters kind of like their relationships to each other. And then as they go in, I'm like, okay. I still think they were silly as hell. Like I feel like there is still some backstory. Like they kind of talked about it because what's his name?
You had Robert
Jeff
with
there.
The glasses, Jeff, and then Sarah.
Yeah, like Jeff talks about like when which they came in by a motorcycle, which I thought was sick as hell. They drove through the glass.
It was a sick entrance.
And then they just start blasting. I'm like, it feels like Counter-Strike when me and the boys we're just going in, we're blasting.
He's trying to pull me over.
No, like I like how they just don't even like they hinted at like the weird like the human experimentation, but I like how they just immediately like, yeah, there's fish people, and then I was like, okay, that's weird. Maybe that's in the games or something. It's like a normal enemy, and then they're like when they get in there with the motorcycle, they have all of a sudden there's just like cryptids rocking around, and I'm like, what is going on? But anyways, like there's one part like right after like they first nade the place, Jeff's like, this whole time I tried to act like a coward or whatever, like I'm afraid of this, but he's like basically saying I live for this shit, and I thought that was funny as hell for me. Whatever reason, I'm like, I don't know what more I don't have any other backstory besides you just said, oh, I try to like act like I don't want to get involved, but really I love killing. Like I used to be. He mentioned he's a mercenary.
Yeah.
But like I still feel like there's more context I need, but it's kind of funnier
I feel like
without
it gave exactly enough what I needed for that character. Because like of that trio, he is the side of the side characters. So that's as much as I needed.
But I just thought
I used to be a
mercenary,
funny. And I came back home and I thought I could live a normal life, and I don't think I wanted to go back, but I'm glad I'm here type of thing.
I that's literally my note. Jeff lives for this shit in all caps. And then he mentions to him, then his buddy there,
Robert.
What was his name? Robert says, oh, we love fighting, we love alcohol, and we love women. I'm like, sure.
Yeah, but then they also say, and sometimes men.
So,
Or something like
some
that.
guys also
And I was like-
men. And they don't say it in any
Howdy,
way.
Toll.
where
I was like,
I'm,
what?
I'm trying to see, like, are you saying this is a bad thing or a good thing? You know, of this era, like.
Yeah.
I totally missed that because I was typing the note.
Oh, really?
We love fighting, we love alcohol, we love women. So that must have popped up as soon as I looked down. I did not
popped up
see.
after.
Because Robert's like,
I
and
thought
some
that's really-
guys even like men as a.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
wow, very forward for 1991.
It didn't seem like it was trying to imply as a bad thing. I couldn't tell.
Yeah, but I mean, we're probably reading too much.
And some
into
love men.
Probably.
You know.
You know, like,
Yeah.
I'm always curious when, like, you know, of some certain eras where it's like, well, you know, this was of the like, you know, it would have been. Do you want to get seen as being positive about this? I don't know.
See,
Right.
if they remade it, we could be a little bit more forward with that. Be like, and some
You
of us
flip it
love men.
around.
They look at each other in the eyes for like
I
5
honestly
straight seconds.
thought that was gonna happen. I thought because they, and maybe this is a good segue into the crazy, just the crazy part where they tie up their
Are the werewolves outside
like
your apartment
woman
right now?
Yeah, they're coming for me directly.
I heard you hated the anime. Open up.
They just like tied her up after she's like, I can go, and
thought that
they're
was so
like,
funny, I'm not
yeah, but
gonna lie.
you can't run, and she like, I ripped my skirt so I can
Yeah,
run. I was like,
at first I
this
was-
is gonna be sick, and then it was just like, oh, we just tied her up because obviously she's just a dumb woman and she can't help. It's like,
Yeah, I was- at first-
guys,
So funny.
what
I
the
thought that
hell?
was so funny.
It was
the
funny, but I
hell?
also was kind of disappointed. I was like, "Oh, really?
Yeah.
They're gonna do like a
I
woman
know.
can't get in this fight twice in this, like, because they did it with
Yeah.
Irene, where like, oh, I need you to stay away from me because it's gonna get crazy."
Well, if it makes you feel better in the remake,
But then,
than the reboot games, there's a lot of playable women characters that you can
good.
kill.
But I was gonna say, I feel kind of redeemed because she comes back at the end and punches Robert in the
Slugs
face,
him,
and
right?
then Robert's like, "I want to marry you." So
well,
that
if
was
you
funny.
survived that at all, you would have been in that mindset of like, I'm so fucking happy. You want to get?
Oh, yeah, no, I just thought it was
just to go
a
back to
better
the part where they
ending.
tie her up in the chair. Right before that, I loved the beat about it because it was either Jeff or Robert's like, you can't run in that skirt, and then she kind of rips up on the leg so that obviously she could, and then she calls back to the line she says earlier, where she says, I thought you liked my curiosity, or some adjective curiosity. And Robert says, I do. But then he's looking at Jeff and says, and that's why you need to stay safe. And then it cuts to them on the motorcycle. I'm like, is she on? There are 3 people on this. No, she's tied up in the chair. I thought that was funny. Legitimately funny.
But I wanted to, before I forget, my main point was then Jeff has that moment where he like, you can leave me behind, and there's like that the bag of grenades or whatever, and then he smokes a cigarette, and I'm like, that's one of my favorite tropes. Let me light that cigarette before I die. But then he didn't die. Which I just thought was like,
I'm happy about that because, like, I don't know, not
it
everyone
did.
needs to
I'm saying
die
it went
like that.
against the grain, but I thought for sure he died. I don't know, and I'm like, cool, I'm okay with that trope. And then they went against it a little bit, but
especially for, like, again, the side character of the side characters. If you wanted to make sure someone dies, I guess that's what you would pick.
and these aren't characters necessarily, but outside of the monsters, I did want to point out there was a cool centipede monster at one point. Just a really quick glance of him, and I thought that was
Oh,
scary as
I
fuck.
missed it.
He's like
Same.
literally I
Is
think
it
it
like
had a
the one right
human
behind
head
you?
with like a centipede. No. But the kind of henchmen with the masks,
Yeah.
I really dug those guys. I love a good like masked like creature that, I mean, like multiple of them. Very Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I feel like, with those ninjas, but like obviously they're more like beasts or mutants of some sort, because one of them, the mask falls off. And I wasn't expecting, I thought it really was still people, but when the mask fell off,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, it's just
like they are
eyeball
doing human
guy.
experiments. It is all
Eyeball guy.
stuff.
But Irene at least gets that headshot that one part, so she
Yeah.
she wasn't full damsel in distress, I guess.
I
should
want
take that
to
back from
throw out
earlier.
a motion here, if we can, collectively on the Sonic movie show. There is a famous phrase, or an idea rather, among filmmaking called Chekhov's gun. I would like for us to rename that to Irene's gun, because they show that her pulling out that gun at the beginning of the movie when Ryu comes home, and then it's like, oh, it's him. And then later they show that gun on the thing while she's knocked on the ground. I'm like, she's gonna shoot him. So I mean, if the gun is there, it's going to be
Foreshadowing, yeah.
used. So that's for
Yeah,
now
good
on.
foreshadowing.
We're not saying Chekhov's gun. We're calling that turn of phrase Irene's gun.
And I
Unless there are
also
any objections.
during that scene, the cops. I like that. But the cops come in, and usually I feel like in any movie or whatever, I don't care what the length is or whatever. In a situation like that, it's usually, oh, the cops here, let's go, and then we see the perspective of them running away typically. And this, it was just like they spend like a good like 45 seconds of the cops like fully clearing the place, seeing these weird mutant henchmen. And then they finally get to the window where they escaped, and then it cuts. And I thought that was just different, kind of way of showing what happened without. And I feel like most times, even the Sonic movie 3 does that, where like during when they run away from the Chow Garden place, like all the soldiers come in, and it shows them running away with the masks on or whatever. And I feel like that's just an easy way to tell the story. I get why they do it that way. But I just thought it was a different way of showing it. So I just wanted to point that out. Because there's a lot of little things I liked in this. Les Mis was also, I don't know if you saw, was during one of the first New York scenes. It was on the poster. So I remember
really?
Les Mis was big in the 90s there, yeah.
Nice.
I also like the clock pendulum flashing back and forth, and it cuts to
Right.
Ryu.
Cool.
I thought that was cool. Oh, when he's talking to his buddy there, I keep forgetting his name. There's Robert.
Yep.
Robert's talking to him, be like, you gotta tell me what you know or whatever. And he shoves him aside, and you think it's because he shoved him, but then he throws the like dagger or whatever at one of the henchmen that was just creeping up by himself.
Yeah.
I thought there was gonna be another fight there, and they're like, nah, it's just that one guy. He missed the original
Like,
party.
I got him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I thought the boss ending fight, I guess you can call it, was cool enough. I mean, it felt like of the era, so there wasn't like anything too flashy, but he powered up his sword. I did like that they fell off the building twice. It wasn't just a one-time fall. They're like, no, we're gonna follow another story.
Not intentional, but like the Dead or Alive games do that type of stuff in their stage transitions. You can knock someone off the edge and it is falling all the way down, and then you can do that multiple times in the same single stage. Not that that's like obviously inspired by this. I would say just about that big green dude reminds me of Cell from Dragon Ball Z, just because he's big and green and just has like that kind of weird lip way of drawing the lips like that. I like that, like, he wasn't like indestructible, but like he was being shot at and the bullets were bouncing away, but it wasn't
Which
just
I
like,
was
I'm
kind
just
of predictable.
the strongest, you can't do anything. Like, no, you can still get stabbed in the gut pretty early on, and it's like, that will still work.
Well, I thought I found, like, soon before they even shot him, I'm like, oh, there's gonna be one part where they try to shoot him to stop him, and it's just gonna bounce off, and it does it. So I'm like, that's fine. I thought, like, once again, kind of a trope. It's like, oh yeah, of course, your modern weapons can't kill me, but this ancient sword can. Sure.
I
love
thought
that
maybe
shit.
the excuse was like, well, why can't Robert just shoot him in the head? Was done well enough early on because they're just moving around too fast, and he's trying not to shoot Ryu. You know what I mean? I thought they did that pretty well because, again, you could storyboard this fight scene in a very boring way with your different characters around with that as well. I also liked two things I want to say that I liked, visually speaking. At the beginning, we'll go back to the beginning. I liked when Ned was the name of the scientist there, right? I think it was Ned or Fred, something like that.
I know who you're talking about.
Whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, cancer scientist, doctor guy.
Professor Bucky Weiss was the.
No, that's
the doctor.
That's
You're
the second one.
Yeah.
But anyway,
whatever.
he's doing the press conference, and like, at the beginning of the movie, Ryu was attacked by two of these henchman guys, and he finds on the body like a business card or something like that of this doctor guy. And, at the press conference, we were like, he's not saying a word. And it's because you could just see him staring down. He just sees Ryu the whole time, and then that's it. I like that visually. I thought that was pretty cool. The one thing that kind of confused me on, though, is because they made such like an intense look at Dr. Bad Guy's face that when the detective people go to talk to that Bucky guy, the other, scientist guy, when they leave, I'm like, oh, it's him in disguise, the face, and then that wasn't true. But I'm like, oh, that really looked like him. So that confused me a little bit, but I liked that intensity look of like he didn't say a single word because he was just staring down Ryu.
Because I'm that cool. Yeah, I cured cancer.
Well, his curing cancer is just making us not humans anymore.
Oh my God.
So that's not really, that's a very science fiction tropey thing of like evolve beyond humanity. Who cares about our biological weaknesses?
He could have pulled a Trump and just held up like instead of the Bible, it's like whatever the paperwork. Like scientific paperwork, like I cured cancer. He just holds it up.
Yeah. Oh, yep.
Oh my God.
Second visual thing I liked the long, thin. I don't know what you call it. It's not a bridge, but like as Ryu's going towards the mansion or whatever, and it's flanked by water. That just long walkway, and the fight on there I thought was pretty cool. It's a nice visual.
That's where he fought the weird sea monster
fish guys. Yeah, because they
people.
jumped out of the water there. And it was
and
a cool way
what?
they animated it too, where like I think the foreground wasn't moving; it was just the background was moving, and Ryu's going through a running animation. The way they did that, I thought was pretty cool, visually interesting. Anything else that people can remember that we haven't already talked about?
Go ahead, David.
I was just going to say I think I'm good, so.
He thinks it's good. All right.
I'm glad you paused.
No,
what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, because I did mention, I felt some parts could have been, drawn a little bit better, and I understand the era anime was still coming on the up and up, but Dragon Ball's been around at this point for a couple years, but, some of the times when they were, talking, their mouths weren't moving, so they kind of saved time here and there, and, I know I just did a lot of positive, but that was one of my negatives was... There were some parts, not all of it. I think some parts looked very visually good, especially the second half of this movie. I thought was way just full production better than the first, where there's moments where I'm like, oh, them talking doesn't really I know it's not going to perfectly line up, but sometimes their mouth's not moving at all, or it just didn't it didn't feel in sync as much compared to the second half. But granted, the second half had more action and less dialogue in it, but. That was one of my critiques. But like I said, the backgrounds and like you said earlier, Ethan, with the bloom and the lighting, that was all really good. But just some of them, when they're talking or sometimes they were in the distance walking, it didn't look as good. But
it looked.
I haven't watched enough
the budget
of this.
Of an OVA at that time probably would have been for
so
better or worse. I'm not giving it a pass, but that's par for the course. I feel like.
Yeah, because I feel like Dragon Ball from that era too, still looked better, but I also know it was a lot more popular.
Dragon Ball also had a lot of let's fight in an empty area to save money type of moments as well.
They kind of did that too in the ending when they're fighting on a flat building and all they have to do is have a blue kind of sky and then they're fighting there. So I get it, like you said, but at the same time I still think you can kind of critique it there because at this time too, anime's on the up and up, but the 90s also had I looked it up, what other animes were out around this time that wasn't just Dragon Ball. Sailor Moon was next year. I think I saw one that Dragon Quest, I believe was one of them.
There's a few Dragon Quest anime series, something or others that I have on our list to kind of look through and see if we needed to.
But
also
so
to be,
it wasn't it was just a super new thing
sure.
either. So there's
also hey, made for theater type of anime movie, OVA television episode is almost 3 different tiers of. It's in that middle thing where it's aspiring to try to be as much closer to, hey, you would watch this in a movie theater that might be an hour and a half. But certainly not trying to be as cheap as a single episode of an anime.
But
it's often reusing stuff it's a bit of a meme, but we all know that in Pokemon they use the same shot of Ash pulling his hat back and throwing the Pokeball. That's why it's on a non-background colored wave, so that they could just put that in every single episode, that type of stuff. Lots of reused stuff, not reuse stuff. Get it?
I was gonna say that the anime I have watched mostly comes from the mid to late 90s. So I'm not, I know that this I could still at least compare it to those things. And I know, like, I've always referenced Evangelion, who doesn't, right? But Evangelion 1995, and that show was on a tight budget, and I saw still what they were, capable of doing. So
They had a Sega Saturn in that show. I mean,
they did.
that's the most impressive thing, technologically impossible, one would think.
Right.
It is. And there's a penguin.
And there's a penguin. But yeah, yeah, no, that was one thing I wanted to bring up because I don't want to be like I'm just full glazing this up either.
All fair points because, as much as I talk a lot of positives, which feels like the opposite of some of the reviews we do where it's just, hey, we liked this, let's only talk about the things that we want to nitpick now. This one's almost like the opposite, or like, hey, this was just fine, but here are the things I really liked, because it's like almost like I want to make sure you still know that I have positive things to say, but like, negatives, I mean, like, this is just, I didn't find it as boring as David did. Maybe it's because I drink caffeine during the day and I was awake and attentive. No, I'm kidding. But no, some of the suspense stuff I did like. They held on a lot of shots. In some ways, I thought added tension and was like just nice. But overall, like, yeah, this was just a story that was like very simple. It already starts with him being attacked, and we don't know why. And they kind of tell you later at the end, like, oh yeah, like the evil god's power, I have it now, and I don't know, maybe he was told by the dragon, the evil god, like, hey, this guy killed me before. I don't even know, but he mentioned Jackio, and I only remember that because, like, I'm pretty sure that was the villain in the first game. Like, I remember reading that name from the NES games.
I mean,
so I'm like, but like, we're just going. You know what I mean? And I don't really view that as too much of a positive. It makes some of the action stuff, like, when they roll in on the motorcycle, cool, because we're just going. Who cares if you want to get in that mindset? But this is a very, very, very simple story, and I kind of was expecting more. Like, this is the type of plot you would have condensed even further down into an episode of a TV show. This isn't as, like, intriguing a concept that I would expect to pay money at a store to buy this tape or this laser disc in our instance's case.
I was gonna say I agree with you, but then when I like think about some of the other ones we've watched that are like fighting game, like Street Fighter, like OVAs and stuff that we watched in previous seasons, and some of the ones we watched, we sometimes critique those of being like too in the weeds, or like you have to know these characters ahead of time. I feel like there's still elements, like I said, where I'm like, I wish I knew more context, but there's enough context to work with so that you can even accomplish the, hey, we're just rolling with this, and here's the action that you really want to see anyways, because that's most of the game. So in a way, I kind of want to give it some flowers in that regard, because comparing it to the other ones we've seen, where I'm like, they really try to make it too serious, or trying to world build longer than it needs to. Like Bayonetta, that was kind of our issue. Is it was a little bit
animated one. I feel like is the big comparison point there for what you're saying, because like if you look on the internet, we're in the wrong there. We thought that thing was just like fine at best, but like it's like the best thing ever if you take the internet's opinion for it. So I guess we're all over the place on whether or not we are with the people out there's opinions.
The
people's, because I mean even on this podcast, we all have different I don't want to say appreciation levels, because that's not fair to say, but different affinities towards anime, if that makes sense. So I mean, I'm curious to see how we're going to rank this one.
This is the big rank one. This settles
it all. This is the deciding factor on who wins our overall thing here. So why don't any final things? I don't want to be too forthcoming here and just push us along, but any final? Okay,
ready.
All right.
I just want to say before we rank it, I had fun this season. We've watched a lot of. It's great. I'm like looking back. I'm like, man, we did watch a lot of. I think we had a good mixed bag of different things, and I think it'll make this more exciting for if we do this again. Where
I want to do a finale
what
episode
people
where
like
we'll talk more, but
but
no, I'm with you there, because like I do. Well, why don't I bring up the list so everyone else can see it? I look at I look at all these movies, and it's like, man, Chun-Li was forever ago. It was last year. It was early last year too. We watched a lot.
That was a banger. movie to start off with. I know we gave it a C, but just like that's like a classic video game movie. Like if we ever seen one, like for David's first, really like
that was a good starting.
This is what you could expect.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like for Chun-Li, like if it was a little bit more not self-aware, it doesn't even need to be self-aware, but goofy and a little bit silly, then it's Dead or Alive territory where that's a B. It knows what it is.
It was trying to be actually serious, and it wasn't.
It was trying. Yeah. And then David's calibration got all knocked off because then we got 2 S ranks in a row, and then we're all over the place this season. A wider array than last season's movies. Ninja Gaiden is the last movie. If you look at this list, folks, if you're new, you might notice all these letters, and then there's numbers at the bottom, and there's numbers on the left-hand side, although that should be pretty obvious what that means. What's all this about? Well, here on the Sonic Movie Show, we can't just say we liked or disliked a thing. We gotta game it out. So we drafted all 18 of these movies, hoping that they would earn the people who drafted them points, and we're going to see who the winner is. My final score is 21.11. I am in presumably last, unless something happens here, which I don't think is going to happen drastically.
I don't think anything possible.
Me not be last.
I don't think there's like even if it was.
Oh, by the way,
who knows?
By the way, because my last movie, Persona 3, the movie number 3, Falling Down, it's like, it doesn't have a Rotten Tomatoes thing we'll talk about later. My last 3 movies didn't on here.
That's
so
crazy.
Like, I'm pretty sure there was at least one more. It was the last 3 because I looked at our spreadsheets and it's like 0.0, 0.0, 0.0. I'm like, no. Anyway, we do all these to get points and to explain in as best he can and as fast as he can. Devin, I gotta scroll all the way down here. Can you please explain these movie tiers starting
One last time.
Now.
Folks, here on the Sonic Movie Show, we rank movies on a S through F tier system, rank system, on a video game movie curve, we should say. So, an S, you might be like, that means the best. You're correct, but an S-ranked video game movie might not apply in a regular movie scale. Maybe that's a C, maybe it's a B. It's all very subjective, but for the sake of what we're doing, we keep it on a video game movie scale, so we only compare video game movies to video game movies at the end of the day. But yeah, let's start off with S. S being basically superior. They start at A-tier films, which we'll get to in a second, but they just have that special sauce. You know it when you see it. You're watching and you're like, wow, this is well made as a movie. Well, maybe it takes really faithful adaptation to the video games in some way. Characters are great, music's great, everything's great. There's really zero nitpicks. Maybe there was like one, but we let it go because it's small. But we only have a couple movies in that category: Detective Pikachu, Sonic Hedgehog 2, Prince of Persia, for example. We had 2 this season, like we mentioned, Gran Turismo and Tetris. Then we get to A tier, which movies like the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie, the remake of Tomb Raider. We have Uncharted on there. These movies are very, very good, great, I should say. Couple nitpicks here and there, but highly recommend these movies still. But maybe they just don't have that special something to get it to S tier. Then we get to B, which is more good than bad, usually around 60-40, but percentages are, can change a little bit. We have movies like Dead or Alive, and we've mentioned a couple times in this episode. We have Mortal Kombat, the original 1995 one there. We have Silent Hill, the first Resident Evil movie, more good than bad. And we generally usually like those movies, I would imagine, because we kind of get into the fine category with C, where it's kind of 50-50, maybe a little bit here and there, going good or bad. But a lot of things we have issues with it, but maybe there's some entertaining stuff in it for the most part. So we put it in this tier. It's our biggest tier. Sometimes we say there's tiers within tiers, and I feel like usually it's within C is where we reference the most. Yeah, we have a lot of the Resident Evil movies in here where they're like, hey, the action's good and whatnot, but they keep changing the plot, and I don't know how committed I want to be. But yeah, most of our movies fall here. Then we get to D, which is the opposite of B tier, basically. These are movies that are more bad than good. Like I said, that kind of maybe 60-40 minimum ratio. Sometimes these movies don't take any faithful adaptation to the video game. Sometimes the plots are just really bad. Sometimes the characters suck. Sometimes they just don't know what they're doing. But it isn't like super bad where we get to E tier, where we have movies like Blood Rain, Borderlands. This is like the downright bad movie. Very little to none redeemable things in this movie. We don't recommend these by any means. Just really, really bad. Then we have F tier, which we only have one movie, Postal, which is we save for the, hey, this movie's offensive. Don't watch it. Don't even pirate it. Don't engage. Stay as far away as possible. And there is a gap between F and E in that regard, where it's just like, it's bad as well, but it's downright offensive. We hope to never put a movie here again, but you never know.
So if E is like the ground, is F like hell?
6 feet under.
Yes, yeah. 6 feet under.
So deep it just reached a level of hell.
Yeah.
Thank you, Devin. And yeah, very simple distribution of how points work for these tiers. 6 through 0. F gets you 0, which I feel like is generous. But if we want to do this again, I mean, I certainly do. But as we're planning, some of this stuff, maybe that's the thing to consider. Do we slide the point scale? So if there is an F, you lose a point. I don't know. But
we can make it really fun and double some of the points too, like after B or something. Like just make it extra chaotic. But we'll see. We have time to talk. We have time to talk.
And I know for the counterpoint thing there, which we will talk about in a second here, last season it was slid, if you can visualize it, down 1. So F didn't get you 4 points, it got you 3. So it was basically -3 down to 3 with C giving you neutral. And if I recall correctly, both our counterpicks last season, Devin and I's against each other, because it was just us two at the time, were C's. So it was like, all right, we could have literally not have done this. And this subsystem did not affect anything. So that's why we decided, let's slide it up so that you got to get a B in order to go neutral. And a C would at least get you a point. Which that didn't happen yet so far. Because our counter picks have been D's, B's, E's, and A's. Literally shotgun around the thing and missing the center.
Yeah, wow.
I would love to see someone counter pick a movie that would be S rank. And F. I think that'd be very funny. Like, this is gonna suck. Oh my god, this was the best thing I've ever seen.
Keep crying.
This
is art.
So we got to decide what we want to do for Ninja Gaiden. Now, as always, since Devin is the one that picked this movie, he gets to make his pitch first. We're going to go around the table here and each make our pitches for the tier that we want to put it in. And we see which one has the most, if possible. We meet in the middle. We figure it out. We haven't had too crazy a spread where it's like, I think D and I think A, and we're very adamant on that. It's been...
There's always been a majority, which has been interesting.
Even if it's just like two people, generally high and one person like wavering, but they want it low. Yeah, you're right. So Devin...
But and people might remember too, like last couple episodes, it feels like it's me and Ethan against David, but even... Early in the season, it wasn't the case. It was me and David against Ethan with some of those Gran Turismo and Tetris. So it's been interesting where it's been
ally swap
that dynamic. But I am waiting for that episode, which I think will inevitably happen, where we're all on different tiers, and that will be really fun.
That will be interesting.
Didn't happen this season, but who knows? Maybe in the future.
Maybe. We'll see.
What but it's final after this.
So Devin,
yes.
What do you want to do?
What do you want? I want to win.
Read
just kidding.
my lips.
And this is why it's S tier. I mean, this is easy S tier. No, I mean, like honestly, like I'm having a hard time kind of putting this. I don't know where I want to really put it yet, but after watching it, and even after a conversation, like. We did a lot of positives, probably more than we have on some other movies that probably would have a higher rank. I feel like this movie is of the era, and if it was longer, I think we would have been harsher on it. But there's a lot of things that we liked, generally speaking, and what I liked, generally speaking. If I had to rank it myself, if I'm being honest, I'm either at a low B or a high C. But for right now, I'm going to put it at a high C just for giving, like, I don't know, it's weird to put it there though at the same time. So I keep going back and forth, but I think high C I have to go with my gut. Because B I'm looking at, like I said, is more good than bad. And I do feel like this movie had that at moments, but I think the story just needed to be a little bit better. Like it was, like I said, I gave it a little bit of flowers earlier of like, hey, kind of gets you straight into it. And compared to some of the other of this type of movie, it either tries to do too much or tries to do too little. I feel like they kind of maybe were on the too little end, but they're getting close to that middle spot where I feel like you perfected it, but it wasn't there. So that's why I'm kind of leaning towards high C right now, just for the sake of looking at the B movies, and I feel like just the plots were better, and that's maybe the only difference right now for me. It's like if the plot / story was just a little bit better, maybe a little bit more interesting, less silly, I would have maybe put this at B. But yeah, I think there was a lot of good in this, but I think that plot sometimes is it's a big piece of it. So I'm putting it at high C right now, but C.
If I could go next, I would not entirely echo what you're saying. I don't think this is any higher than a C, but a high C does kind of reflect how I feel, where like this certainly is like a fine a viewing experience for what it is, and because I think mostly that what makes it just fine is kind of the story that they're telling. They're doing a lot of cool stuff within this, which is what makes it like highlights. They feel like highlights in this thing, which to me is kind of what like is. I kind of like to look at the C tier as like a cauldron where you're just throwing as much shit in there as possible, and you can pick out like I like this, but that tastes like shit. Oh, look, a potato. Oh my god, you put eggplant in here? What's going on here? Like there's a lot of that stuff. For me, this cauldron of a movie is a lot of like, ooh, I like that. Oh, I like that. I like that. I just wish it wasn't in this cauldron. I wish I just had this out of the cauldron. And that's all the good stuff. If I can make a food analogy there. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've said everything I wanted to say about this. I certainly liked it. I will say that. I just don't think it's that good. It just has cool things in it that I liked. So a high C for me. I'm curious how David...
What flavor are you getting? High C?
Oh, is there more than one flavor?
I think there's...
Just
I only
orange,
remember
right?
two. There's orange and there's red. I think one was fruit punch, and I think one
like
was
fruit
like
punch,
tropical.
I've never had
Right.
that. I've only
You're
ever
right.
had the orange.
I think I have had. Anyway.
I've had it only once as an adult, and that's from McDonald's as a novelty to be like, they have high C here. I will get that. And be like,
I always felt gross because I'm like, I'm already eating like arguably trash, and then I'm putting like
tripling
straight
down.
sugar.
Yeah, but if you're all right, you're
syrup.
already committed. You might as well not like have any pretenses about being healthy there. Is David going to invent
Speaking about
a new
food,
letter below F?
No, no. I mean, I don't. I think to start off with my ranking, going into this, my gut was saying a high D or a low C. I think I agree with a lot of your points. There was, from what we talked about, by like volume of what we talked about, there's maybe more good than bad, but I think, like Devin was saying, sometimes like the plot, there's like weights to these things, and like if the plot is not that good, that can really pull it down. And I think, to go back to Ethan's analogy of the food, if this is a soup, it's like you forgot the seasoning. It's like, yeah, I like the potatoes and I like the meat, but it's just bland.
No salt.
And so, yeah, there's no salt, and I'm salty about it. And I guess that kind of sums up my like feelings on why this kind of has gone down, because like I did enjoy a lot of the things that you guys said, but they're smaller parts than the more important like plot and me being interested in the plot to keep me there. But at the end of the day, I think I am solid at a low C here, which maybe averages us to a 2/3 C, a B, a C dot
a
B,
mid C, yeah, a mid low C.
C dot C.
Yes.
That's right, because our decimals were all just the other letters
Yes.
as well. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Not official. I am not doing
official.
any math like that. But
we're thinking about it for next
we
season.
can canonize that within our own words. Listen, that is my only one. Like no. because I'm the one that has to manage all of this stuff. So I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Devin,
C.5.
you get what we like to call in the business here a nice C. Isn't that right? Because it's a C.
Yes.
But it
as much as I wanted this to be a D, so I had a chance to win.
It makes
I
you
can't
feel...
do that because we're ethical.
Right.
I don't remember the numbers.
I always have to look, and I feel weird about them. Like, I should only show the audience that once. Like, I gotta look over. It makes me feel unprofessional. Devin, you gained 3 points for this, but that's not all. Isn't that right? You also win a brand new car.
A brand new car. And it's Ninja Gaiden themed.
I mean,
imagine,
that would be pretty cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
Imagine you get a nice Kia and it's like wrapped with like box art of the video game. You'd be the coolest guy going down the street.
Honestly,
Colorado.
in Denver too, there's a lot of like anime like stickers and shit. It's much higher population of anime like shit on people's cars here. So low key, I feel like I would be kind of. I'd be on Reddit eventually. People be like, "Did you guys see this sick car in downtown Denver?" Yeah, that'd be sick. Yeah, so on the show, you see those little decimals that we have near our scores there, as part of our scores there. And how we get that decimal is we look at Rotten Tomatoes and we look at the audience score specifically. There's the reviews, like the high-end reviewer score, but then there's a audience score. And we get whatever that number is. Let's say it's 50%. We make that a decimal, so it'll be 0.50, and we add that to our total score. We do this just to have as a tiebreaker, but also we like to look to see, hey, are our opinions the same as some of our general audience members? Are they higher, lower, maybe right on the spot? And it's kind of interesting to see that. And then I try to also find, if anyone left any reviews or whatnot, and kind of see if they match up as well. So yeah, just a way for us to create a tiebreaker, but also get our hand on the pulse a little bit of what other people think about this film. And I think for the first time that in my fantasy video game movie career, I don't get any points, but guess what? It doesn't even have a page.
Really?
It doesn't even have a page.
Wow.
I looked up even the Japanese one.
Disrespect.
I can't find one. So yeah, I guess I just don't get anything.
You get to
at all,
join
which
me in the club. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
doing stuff here. You get to join me in the club of people that just don't get any extra bonus points. Well,
yeah.
that being said, if I can show us our final scores here, because if folks remember, David had counterpicked this movie, which means he's also gaining 1 point as well.
Yes, I don't know that it's going to matter.
It's not going to matter. Don't do the math in your head.
Spoilers.
I forgot I had to do one more quick thing here.
I'm going to do the math really quickly here. 26.5.
Devin has won our season.
Wow.
He won with more than 1 point, as opposed to last year where he lost from me by less than 1 point.
Honestly, I was scared a lot going into this, and I was like, "Oh man, if this is a stinker."
David really got your number by picking an A-ranked movie,
and I'm glad. And also, yeah, that's what really killed me. That's what made it close. Because every time I look at it, if you just look at it face value, don't look at the scores. You see David's. He had 2 E's there, and somehow he had a chance to win.
Last almost.
Yeah,
with 2 E's.
But it all goes back to that very first Gran Turismo where it was like, you got the highest probably score we'll ever see in this game with getting the high Rotten Tomatoes score, which basically counted as a S+.
Yeah.
Basically, if there is one. And I think that's what kept you in it. I mean, you had the 2 C's there, and I had the 1 D. But the 2 B's definitely helped in the mid.
And it's the counterpoints that really win things around. I mean, David got, let's see, how many points did he get from...
That's 2, right?
David
I got 3 points total.
From
2.
Sorry, you got 1
2 from Super Mario.
Sorry, you got 1 count point from counterpicking Devin's Ninja Gaiden. Devin lost a point from counterpicking Professor Layton there, and you got 5 points on a movie that we were like, oh, going into this they're probably both going to be around a C, if not maybe lower. I'm just kind of projecting a prediction there. And to have that go around and be like, actually, no. I actually didn't get too far away from the pack. I mean, I'm clearly behind in the pack here, but my counter pick on David's In the Name of the King prevented me from being in the teams by a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you are like 4 points behind.
Yeah, but
pretty
like,
significant.
I could have been a lot more.
Yeah.
Because I also had
help.
counterpicked Devin's Resident Evil movie, which was a B, which means I got zilch from that one because I made the wrong bet there. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I want to do a kind of a finale episode for this season where we'll talk more in depth. But just overall, I'm happy Devin was able to come back a win. I am gonna say I'm disappointed, not that I lost, but I thought it would have been really funny if David was the one that won, considering that for this whole, I would feel what might feel like the entire season, he was up against the wall there, having to defend himself alone on his opinions. For a lot
and I'm
of
sure
things.
we'll get into it in the final episode, but I still think, in my heart of hearts, I think I could have squeaked out a couple points from some of my E's, but we'll get into it that episode.
All right. Well, that was Ninja Gaiden 1991. Thank you guys for watching, but we're not over yet because, as we all know, it's time for everyone's new favorite game show. Do you see a ninja? Here's the deal, guys. I'm going to show you guys 10 images.
We have to identify. Oh my god!
And I want you to tell me, yes or no. Do you see a ninja? There is no buzz and answer. God. We're gonna treat this as almost like a real or fake type of situation where it's just you tell me yes or no. I'm gonna write them down, and then after they're all done, I'm gonna tell you which ones were it. So, without further ado, and because David is dead last in points here for
Am I really only have 17? I feel like I low-key should have more.
Only 17?
Wow.
How much?
Yes, you only have 17. Oh, you've only won 17 times. I only have 3.
How many episodes was there? You know, I'm trying to do the math.
There's 18 in total, plus our draft, which I think we did one. We did one in the draft.
Because we did the video game.
The mid-season had 2 or 3, but then there was also.
I think there was 3. David won 1. I won 2, if I'm not mistaken.
But you also you each put one on the line for I think one of those.
And I won that one.
Yeah,
so
that was my one chance for a comeback, and it was brutally ripped away.
Yeah, that was when the score was a lot lower. But yeah, we're gonna see who wins this one. So again, I'm gonna show you an image. You're going to tell me if you see a ninja, yes or no.
I mean, I need a full screen. Make sure this is extra big.
That's right. David, you get to decide if you want to be first or second here, and we're going to snake back and forth because...
How many questions are there?
There are 10 in total.
Okay.
So do you want to be the first one or the second
I'm going to be second.
All right.
I don't want to be the guinea pig.
This actually works out for me because the way I have you both written in columns here in Excel is Devin is on the left and David is on the right, so it makes it easy for me. All right. Devin, you're going to start up first with the simple question. Do you see a ninja?
See, I don't know, like...
See, this is why I picked second.
Yeah, I need to ask. I'm assuming you Photoshopped some stuff, but just for the sake of transparency for both sides, is there like a 1 pixel... There's no like 1 pixel ninja hiding in his mouth or some shit.
Do you see a ninja?
Okay, so then like you can it could just be it's a guess every time. It doesn't even matter what you show on screen then.
I will
if you
say
just make them a pixel.
We're speeding through this. It's not designed to make you spend an hour staring at the thing. Do you see a ninja?
I'm gonna say no because there shouldn't be one.
Okay.
I'm gonna laugh if the next one it's just like so obvious. It's like
it's
we realized this was clearly not one. Yeah.
David, do you see a ninja?
No.
Okay. Dave, we're going to go back to you again. Do you see a ninja?
Oh my god. I'm like looking at the collar. I'm looking at the tie. Where would he hide one? I'm gonna say yes on this one.
Okay, David.
I don't know if the picture of the ninja is the same every time either. You know what I mean?
Like I know. Yeah, just like
so. Like I have
differently.
nothing for reference.
Devin, do you see a ninja?
No.
Okay.
I feel like it would be helpful to see like what the PNG he's hiding was,
Yeah.
to start out. Like, this is what I'm hiding somewhere.
You're up next,
Potentially.
Devin. Do you see a
Yes.
ninja?
I don't know who this Pokemon's name is called. If he has the word ninja in his name, then I'm going to be mad. But no.
Okay. David, do you see a ninja?
We're just saying no because we don't see any.
We just supposed to say no and see what Ethan does.
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't.
Okay. That was the third one. We're on our fourth. David.
Watch there be no
Do you
ninjas
see a
this
ninja?
entire time. Oh
Bruh.
my god.
This is insane. No.
Devin, do you see a ninja?
Here, let me do the classic magic eye trick. I can cross my eyes. Let's do that. See if I see it. I'm not seeing nothing. No.
Okay.
I'm
Devin,
trying to do the magic eye thing.
we're
so I can do those.
We're going back to you,
I
Devin.
don't know what that is.
Do you
It's
see,
like the
do you
magic
see a
eye
ninja?
books. Put George R. Martin in here. I don't know where I'm like I don't know what I'm referencing. Like he's wearing black, so it's like is the ninja wearing a black outfit? Is it the Ninja Gaiden Ryu ninja? Like I don't know. Like no, I'm just gonna keep saying no. Screw it.
Okay.
What
David, do you see a ninja?
No.
Okay. David, back to you. Do you see a
All
ninja?
right.
Oh my god, he's gonna be technical now.
I don't even know who this is. Is this guy a ninja? I don't know.
It's isn't it Ryu from Street Fighter?
It's Ryu from Street Fighter.
Mm,
So a different Ryu, whatever.
right. Gotcha. I don't think this guy's a ninja. Although he has kind of the ninja swag going on. I'm gonna say no.
Okay. Devin, do you see a ninja?
See, part of me wants to say yes just to break the mold, and then if it is correct, I get one. But I think we get points for being correct, right? So I have to just stick with just matching David when I'm not sure. So no.
Okay. Devin, we're going back to you on this. Do you see a ninja?
Insane. Who are these people? Wait, is that
Look up, like-
Bradley Cooper?
No.
Wait, what's
you look
that
up,
guy
like-
in the front on the white? It almost looks like him.
This just looks like your like average family trip. Like it's like, oh, we're doing a family gathering in Naples. No, I don't. I'm like looking, man. I don't see nothing. No.
No? Okay. David, do you see a ninja?
No.
Okay. David, we're going back to you. David.
It's probably going to be like there was no ninjas in this entire
I
thing.
know. That's what I think it's gonna be.
David.
I'm
Yeah.
just waiting for one of us to mess up.
David, do you see a ninja?
Yes. This is probably Ryu.
Okay. Devin, do you see a ninja?
I mean, part of me wants to say no because what if it isn't, and this is where I win. But I also agree that it looks like a ninja. It looks like Ryu from the games. I'm assuming. Yes, of course.
Okay. Devin, you get to, sorry. You get to go again, Devin. Do you see a ninja?
Bro, you can't.
This is what
If you
this
count,
game is.
if you count this as a ninja, you're wrong. I'm just letting you know.
Do you see a ninja?
A guy with a dinosaur with a katana is not a ninja. By the way,
Next Jurassic Park movie.
No, it's not it's not a ninja. It's a dinosaur.
David, do you see a ninja?
No.
Okay.
Thank you
stand
for
strong
standing
with
on
Devin's
opinion. I don't care if Ethan says it's a ninja or I'm not.
It's on,
no.
Yep. I can't morally get a point for that.
David, you get to go. This is our last one coming up. This is number
All right.
10. David, you get to go. Do you see a ninja?
Man, I don't see shit. No.
Okay. Devin, do you see a ninja?
I'm forcing us overtime because I don't like this. No, there's no ninja.
Okay. So I have all 10 of each of your answers down. How we're going to do this is if you guessed correctly, yes or no, on the correct one, you obviously get a point. There is no you lose a point if you guessed incorrectly. So if you guessed correctly, you're getting the point. We're going to begin with our first picture here. Both of you said no, this is not a ninja, because this is not a ninja. This is Barney the Purple Dinosaur. Of course, it's not a ninja.
Right.
Right. Our second one here. David, you said you see a ninja. Devin, you said you don't. David, this is not a ninja. This is the 16th President of the United States of America, Abraham Lincoln. This is not a ninja.
Uh-oh.
Devin's in the lead.
Wait. Oh, David said.
I think I said yes. I was wondering if he was hiding one in his sideburns.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. I'm glad I played my strategy.
Our third picture. You both said no. This is not a ninja. This is the 503rd Pokemon Samurott. He's samurai themed. He's not ninja themed.
I didn't know who he was.
I was hoping because there is a water Pokemon starter that is ninja themed, and I was like, maybe I can trip you up, make you think. No.
Make us gaslight
But
ourselves.
you didn't know who this guy was. Which is fair, because he comes from the worst generation of Pokemon. Our fourth image. You both said no, you don't see a ninja, which is surprising because there is no ninja here. This is a log. There is no ninja.
Right.
For our
I'm
fifth
glad
image,
we're doing pretty well.
our fifth image.
I had that
however,
one mix up with Abraham and a ninja, but
You both said you don't see a ninja here. And you're right, there is no ninja here. This is George R. R. Martin, famous author and Elden Ring writer. Our sixth picture. You both said you do not see a ninja. This is not a ninja. This is Ryu from Street Fighter. He is a karate guy. He's not a ninja.
Is that what they call themselves?
karate.
I don't know.
Karate guy.
I don't know. For our seventh picture, you both said you don't see a ninja. However, there is still no ninja here. This is the cast of Season 1 of Survivor. Some of these people are dead.
Oh, bro, why do you
I saw a version of this image
Why?
that says how old
Why
they
did
were
you
when
add
it was
that in?
added, how old they were when it was filmed, and how old they are now, and some of them are dead.
Yeah. Well,
They
there's
are
some
older,
older people.
This was what, 1998?
They're on like I don't know their 30th season or something crazy, but they also they're one of the shows that like was also doing sometimes 2 seasons a year. Like they have 2 different things going on. First season was in Borneo. Can you believe it? All right. Our eighth picture here. You both said you see a ninja. That's obviously a ninja. That's Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden. I feel like that's pretty obvious. I'm glad you guys got it. However, for our ninth one here, you both said that you don't see a ninja. And you're correct. Barney with a katana doesn't make him a ninja, all right? He's not a ninja.
He scribbled out his answer.
Yeah, he definitely had it.
I wanted
He
you to
scribbled
think
it out.
Obviously, I took the first image and just put a PNG of a sword in there. And it was like, are they going to think this is going to become a ninja? Obviously, it's not. And for our 10th image, you both said you do not see a ninja. There is no ninja here. This is the Gulf of Mexico. Devin, you were the only person who guessed correctly on every single one of these.
There's only one.
I second guessed my strategy, and that's why I lose.
Every single time, you guys are like, "This is so Ethan coded. He's going to do this.
This was definitely
Ethan coded thing." And I say, you know what?
This
For our
is Ethan
final
coded.
one here of the movie review game shows, I'm going to go full Ethan coded. None of them
Yep,
are
you did.
except the very obvious one. And David still thought Abraham Lincoln was a ninja.
He could have. We don't have proof. We don't have proof.
Apparently, he hid documents into his hat. So I'm told, like not in a hat, but like in like the
Perhaps
the
throwing
siding.
stars, even.
Maybe
He should have kept an armored plate in his hat that maybe extended
Jesus.
behind his head.
Coulda,
Yeah,
shoulda,
like a
woulda.
medieval thing where he just pushes it down and eye holes open.
That'd be sick. He's Iron Man.
Yeah,
So our final score for this is I
feels bad.
export
You got a
this.
solid 15 more trophies than me.
Devin wins.
Oh man!
Oh wait, I put the scores wrong. Whatever. Devin had the 10 points and David had the 9 points.
I'll take it.
And Devin, you get
Yeah, man.
your 18th trophy. However,
I'm going for 20.
It is still anybody's game because for our finale episode, we are going into a gauntlet game show. David, you aren't at a neutral ground here because for every question you guys get wrong in our finale episode, you lose a trophy. Lose all your trophies and you lose the game. That is our cliffhanger.
Our gauntlet.
Oh my
David,
god.
you gotta do really well, but you still have a chance.
I gotta nail it.
You still have a chance.
Okay.
I
figured it was
going to
be something like this. I'm going for 20. I'm going to gain trophies somehow.
It does mean I do have to make a 20th trophy option in case Devin will lose anything and wins at the end because I do want to give something to the winner. All right. Well, thank you, Devin and David, for joining me for this game show. And thank you all out there for watching this episode of the Sonic Movie Show. Hey, we're on YouTube. If you were listening along, sorry, there was visual aids. YouTube.com/@srankproductions. Please give us a like, subscribe, share with your friends. They need to know what's going on. And if you liked this movie that we reviewed here, let us know in the comments below. We enjoy reading all of them comments every single week. I have to delete thousands of them because there's just too many. I want got inbox zero, as they say, but I certainly want to see more of those comments in the bottom. I don't delete them. That's a lie. Thank you, Devin. Thank you, David. As we like to always end this episode, Ninja out.
Ninja out.
Yeah.